Welcome to Bank Shot, where we're bouncing ideas off area leaders to inspire vision and values. I'm Chad Hoffman, and in each episode, we'll explore how leadership, values, and vision play out in real businesses and communities. At Richwood Bank, our vision is simple: to inspire, protect, and celebrate anything that helps our communities thrive. That's what this podcast is all about, sharing ideas that help leaders like you take your best shot. And today, I have a friend and someone I've known for a long time and bounced ideas off of forever, and Rob Leeds. Rob works with the OSU Extension office as well as has Leeds Farm there in Ostrander, Ohio, and we'll learn a little bit more about Rob. But good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Chad. First of all, I got to say I love the name Bank Shot. I expect nothing less out of you. I want to say that.
That was, I can promise you, it was tormentful to come up with a name for this. Yes, it was a little bit, but we did finally settle on Bank Shot, and again, I think it kind of takes the theme of what we want, right, is to take your best shot out there. We realize that leaders need to continue to grow. Not every leader is perfect. I mean, matter of fact, no leader is perfect, right? And you're just looking for ways to improve and to take your best shot every day. Some of them are going to go through the hoop and some of them aren't.
Right.
So, but you got to keep
generally,
moving.
Chad, we all know that you're going to miss more than you make. So don't be afraid to go out there and just like any good defensive back, just forget the mistakes, go ahead and look forward to the next play.
And I think that's very important for leaders to know as well. It's not every decision you're going to make, but you try to do good ones every day. Well, Rob, just to learn a little bit more about you, what I do is what I call the lightning round. Okay, it's 10 questions, just kind of either or types of questions to learn a little bit more about you without having to get real deep into your psyche. So I'm going to just start off with your work style. Are you an early bird or are you a night owl?
Early bird.
Early bird. That's not a surprise with the farming background. Not a surprise at all. So, okay, so this is one that's been kind of controversial, I admit. The hot dog. Is it a sandwich or is it not a sandwich?
It's not a sandwich.
Oh, wow. Okay. See, I would have buzzed you on that one because if I had my buzzer, I don't have it. So, but yeah. So
that's what it could go either way, you know.
See, that's
grab and go food for me.
So hot dog's its own category. Is that what you're telling me?
Exactly. You can have the bread with it or not. Just it's good either way.
All right, that's fine. So decision making, Rob, gut instinct or data driven?
I'm going to say gut instinct.
Okay.
Like data, but once again, data can be paralyzing. Go with your gut.
I don't argue at all. Sports, football or basketball?
Football.
Yeah, well done. Farm, sheep or goats?
Oh, goats. You know that. Gee whiz.
I had to put it in there just to make sure I got that off of you there. I didn't put cows in there. I didn't put anything like that. Sheep or goats. There it is. So Ohio, Cincinnati or Cleveland?
Cincinnati.
All right. Payments. Swipe, insert, or are you a tap guy?
I'm tap.
All right, there it is. I love it. So that's good for us. Lifestyle. Would it be a night out on the town or a quiet night at home?
Quiet night at home.
All right, that surprises me a little bit. Now, I see you as that social person that gets out there and hits the town.
Well, I enjoy that too, but it just seems like this time, especially this time of year, harvest and everything, it's definitely time at home. And
appreciate the quiet times when you can get them. So when you seek knowledge, Rob, do you do books or do you like podcasts?
I like audio books. I guess that would fall into podcast category.
So you listen more than you sit and read something?
Yeah, once again, it's a time thing. I do a lot of travel, and you got to use it the best way you can.
I agree. Nope, I think it's fantastic. In the car, on planes, that's what I do. Is I don't listen to music anymore. Sadly, I'm listening to either a podcast or most of the time, like you said, audiobooks are great. Mm-hmm. So, okay, this is the last one. The farm thing.
Okay, here we go. This is going to be good.
Trucks, Ford or Chevy?
I drive a Honda Ridgeline. What are you talking about? Give me a third category.
I actually knew that and thought I'm going to give him a chance to say that. So that's excellent. Well, Rob, again, thank you for playing. And no, just some things to get a little bit more about you.
Well, Chad, before you get away, you talked about not listening to music, but I guess there's a new country song out that touts the benefits of driving a Ridgeline. So someone sent it to me the other day. I'm like, well, you can't beat that.
There it is. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Rob, again, I know that we've got several things here. What I wanted to go with over you first, though, is our values. And you've got them in front of you there. The Richwood Bank's values, do the right thing, innovate everything, always celebrate success, make a difference in the community, openly communicate, no excuses, drive positive energy, and seek knowledge. through these values, do you see anything that kind of like resonates with you on something that you kind of live out or that you agree with?
Well, once again, Chad, you look down through these, all of them are important. It's just the idea of which one jumps out at you. And really for me, and a lot of this we do with our employees, both in Extension and at Leeds Farm, is this idea of driving positive energy.
Yeah.
This idea that, a lot of things are going to happen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, Urban Meyer's book, right?
Yep.
How you respond. So once again,
above the line, right?
Right, above the line. When you look at that and you look at, how do you face situations? If you go in with this attitude, everything happens for a reason, and it's going to benefit me. And you look for the positive side. So you drive that positive energy. Not only does it help you, but it helps everyone around you.
Yep.
Because we get out here and harvest, the combine breaks down, we have flat tires, little things. And once again, if you go in with that positive attitude and you bring the positive energy to every interaction you have, first of all, people are going to want to be around you.
Yeah, but that's also big.
And then you're going to be able to see the opportunity in the situation versus just a negative set me back type, attitude. So I really, coach and look forward to working with people that really bring that positive energy.
No, I appreciate that very much. And I think in the book, he defines it great. I think it's that whole E plus R equals O, right? It's the event.
Right.
Or it might be times. I forget if it's a plus or a times, and then your response to it, right, equals the outcome. So the event plus the response equals the outcome. And you can't control the event.
Right?
Events are going to happen to you, and all you can control is that response.
Right. And how many times, Chad, have we seen people that have a negative attitude go into a situation and then someone else will go into it with a positive, and they have completely different takes on the situation, first of all.
Yep.
And second of all, the outcomes are completely different.
Yep.
So
I've never seen a situation improve, Rob, when someone goes negative. Now, I'm not saying the mistakes don't get made and that you don't have to correct those. And you do, we call them kind of autopsies around here. I mean, it's kind of a backward looking, hey, how did that happen? There's another great book out there that's called, How Did That Happen? And it says it's missing 2 words in that title, and it should be, how did I let that happen? And it's, what was my part in whatever fell apart, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen going forward? And I'm not saying that, companies don't need to let people go sometimes. Yes, if the same person's making this mistake repeatedly, but the big thing is, how was the mistake made? Can we prevent that? But getting upset and, throwing things, getting mad, I've never seen a situation improve by doing that.
maybe your reflex is when you duck for the wrench flying across.
There it is. Oh, that's good.
But you're right. Once again, it's just this idea that you go into it, and if someone makes a mistake, we learned a lot of that at Disney, right?
We did.
The idea of you empower your employees. They're going to make mistakes, but don't dwell on it.
Yep.
Say, yep, you made a mistake. Here's how we're going to correct it. Nothing more said.
No, it's perfect.
And then once again, I expect you to be able to make the same, make a decision using the criteria we just talked about. I'm not worried about you. And if I do worry about you making the wrong decision again, then we have to talk about, is this the right job for you?
Everything you're saying is leading right into what I wanted to discuss with you today. But does your organization, Rob, either OSU or Leeds Farm, do you have your own values? Are they established? Are they something that people know what they are?
Yeah, we have, we use the keys method that we learn in both in Extension and at the farm.
Okay.
And once again, we developed the keys in Extension was off our vision and mission statement.
Okay.
So it was things that we already had out there. We just wanted to put it in a concise way and say, this is really what our values are. And that's what it kind of comes back to. Leeds Farm the same way. Once again, if you work for a corporation or if you're starting a business of your own, it's really hard to put in, 80 hours a week or whatever, which is now norm. If you don't really agree with the values and the keys of the operation. And so we really stress that quite a bit.
I agree. And I think it leads back to your whole drive positive energy, and what you're saying about the values is if you're a company that has customers, which most do, whether they're individual customers, business customers, whatever. Simon Sinek has a great saying out there that says, your customers can't love you unless your employees love you first. And if they don't know what they're working towards, if they don't know what success looks like, if they don't know what the values are, I don't know how they can love you, right? I don't know how they can be really passionate about what you're trying to accomplish. It's not just about making money. It's what vision do you have, and that's why we do the Inspire inspire, protect, celebrate, anything that helps the communities thrive is, we're a community bank. If you don't have a community, you don't need a community bank. So we want people that are engaged in the community. That's what we strive for. And but if a company doesn't have that, I think employees struggle to find that, hey, why am I here? Why am I important? What am I doing to work towards a better future?
Right. And once again, we're going back to Disney, and we talked about that, is this idea that your employees are going to treat your customers no better than you're treating them.
Yep.
So once again, you got to, be honest with them. You got to develop their trust. All this stuff filters right down through to your customers, and trust is just so important.
It is.
And that trust is not developed by just, giving people platitudes and, positive reinforcement. Sometimes you have to be open and honest and say, hey, we need to improve this.
Well, and you don't want to damage your high performers by keeping a low performer around without addressing the low performer, right? I mean, that's the worst thing that you can do is allow a worse performer or a bad performer to stick around, because you might actually lose a good performer because they don't want to hang around the bad performer anymore.
Right.
So, to address that and make sure you're trying to raise the value of that low performer, I think is huge. But Rob, there's a guy out there, his name's Warren Bennis, and he came up with a quote that says, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. At OSU and at Leeds Farms. I mean, it's funny, you've mentioned Disney already, and I know you and I took a trip together a few years back where we went to the Disney Institute. This was before COVID, when the Disney Institute was a bigger deal than I think what they've built it back to today. But at the same time, it was very interesting to see how they approached that, take that vision and turn it into reality. And what's funny is I've got this little statue here that I actually bought on that trip. And on the front of...
I almost lost you in the crowd.
Yes, exactly. I got over there. It literally on this statue, it says you can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality. And, Walt Disney said that. And I know at Leeds Farm, I mean, obviously you're an agritainment, business. You're trying to push an experience. I mean, how important it is that your people are on top notch?
Not only are they top notch, but part of our goal is to help develop those people. So once again, not only am you going to come and work for Leeds Farm and do a great job, we want to make sure that you're better than when you left.
Oh, cool.
And that's what we look at too. And once again, as you go through our T's, we talk about safety being the first one. Yep. But it's not just safety of the things that are liability and stuff. It's the employees, your coworkers, yep, your community around you. Same with courtesy. We focus on coworkers. We focus on people. We focus on our partners and our community. Just different things like that really resonate, but it all comes back to people, and not only people, but the relationship you have with those people as you go through.
So, Rob, do you have an official training program that you send them through? I mean, how do they learn the way that you would expect them to handle certain situations? I understand the keys, and that's kind of a decision-making part of it. But do you have something official that you take individuals through?
Yeah, at Leeds Farm, we have a day we bring them in, and we talk about the keys. We talk about the decision-making. We talk about the idea of, developing those special interactions with your coworkers and your clientele. When you talk about with your coworkers, it's always please and thank you, because if a customer sees you talking to your coworker like that, that resonates. I mean, I think we saw a little bit of that in Disney. When you get into that culture and you see people treating people a certain way, then you kind of adapt that. And so during the training process, we talk about how do you work with your coworkers? How do you work with your community? How do you work with the physical attributes of the farm? Yeah. Keep it clean. There's a lot of things like that we really stress as you go through. And it's very important because, once again, I'm a very positive person. I think everybody you hire wants to do a good job. But if you don't train them, how can they do a good job? And
you come up with a good point there. So where's been the frustration for you? I mean, as a leader, there's obviously frustrations through this process. Was there anything that, surprises you, or that you would give advice to somebody else as they're trying to do this to get people to behave in that way that you want them to do on a daily basis? I mean, you can't be standing there over their shoulder all the time, Rob. You can't be there and say, well, this is the decision I would want you to make today. Where do you see the hangups or the frustrations in the past?
Well, I think first of all, the idea is you need to be intentional. You need to have an intentional training program. You need to be intentional about the actions that you want to see your employees portray. Okay, very intentionality. And once again, those need to be authentic to you and your values. So you put that in there. Then the second thing really is the idea of don't be afraid to let the employees make a mistake. We just talked about it earlier.
We did.
They're going to make mistakes, but you want to empower them to, to interact with and make decisions. I don't want my employee out here running back to me to make every decision. Yeah. I want the customer to know that employee they're talking to is empowered and can make any decisions up to a certain point. Right?
Yeah.
They can handle it. And are they going to make mistakes? Sure. But once again, we talk it over and then they'll do better the next time.
I read something on the Ritz-Carlton. I don't know if you know this or not, but each one of their employees is empowered to spend up to $2,000 for a service recovery. And I actually experienced that when we were there. I was with a group there for a board that I was serving on, and the group was golfing one day. Well, one of the gentlemen that was golfing with me, he put his shoes out at night because they had a shoe cleaning service. And he put his shoes out on the door, and the next morning his shoes are gone. And they say it would be back in a few hours. They never came back. Well, he calls and they absolutely just lost his shoes. No idea where they were. So what they did was they called him down to the store, and basically, this is Ritz-Carlton. These aren't cheap shoes that they have there in their golf store, and they basically said, choose a shoe and it's yours. And he went in and obviously got a nice pair of shoes and walked away with a brand new set of golf, but didn't have to get management's approval, didn't have to get that up the chain, just did that because that was the obvious, service recovery. And he was they lost his golf shoes, but he was happier at the end than if they'd never done it.
Right. And that's a key, Chad. Sometimes you can develop more customer loyalty by correcting a mistake correctly than if you never made a mistake at all.
Agreed.
I'm not saying going out and make mistakes for the heck of it.
Thank you. Yes, I think we want to put that out there. Yeah, for all leaders listening, please don't intentionally do mistakes. But at the same time, I think service recovery is a huge opportunity for customer service.
Right. And we at Leeds Farm, we give, I don't have $2,000 to throw out there, but we get there. But we give each of our employees, every morning, we give each of our employees a token. That token is good for a $5 kettle corn or a $5 thing of donuts. And the only instructions they have is make sure you give it to a guest today.
Nice.
Either they're having a bad day or maybe they helped you out. Doesn't matter the reason. And then we have them report back. But once again, that shows a customer that they can do things. The employee can make things right if it happens to be a customer service fail, or if they're acting in a way that helps another customer or whatever, they can also get that. So it's very interesting to see.
I love that.
And then the next day when we come back in we're like you, we have our huddles in the morning. We have them tell the stories of why they gave the token to who they did.
No, it's fantastic. I love that story, Rob. That's a great way of doing it. Whether it's a service recovery or whether it's just a nice thing to do for somebody that's having a bad day, that's incredible. I love that.
It was interesting. This year we had the young lady running the kettle corn station would ask the person, well, why did you get that token? And a lot of them, then they relay the story about how they picked up trash or they helped somebody or I was too small to go on the zip line or whatever. But once again, those magic moments,
I love it.
They make a big difference.
So we share books. And I know you've read a lot, you've done a lot on the business side and listened to them as well. But one of them was Lessons from the Mouse. And again, we've talked about this. You and I have had that experience at Disney. I know you continue to go back there. You just had a kind of a private deal where you got to go backstage here not that long ago, which sounded like it was an incredible opportunity. Would you encourage other leaders to do that?
I think it's very important. You can learn from anybody.
Right.
But Disney has a very authentic, whatever my story, but very pinpointed idea of customer service.
Yes.
So if you get the opportunity to go behind the scenes, we did a behind the scenes tour and then we did a VIP tour, okay, which gave us an opportunity to kind of talk to some of the cast members. And we kind of did it before. They'd tell us about the keys and then we'd go out and we'd ask the employees about the keys. And we could really find that they were really teaching what the employees were gathering the information that we were being told they were. Yeah. So anytime you get the idea or a chance to go behind the scenes, whether it's at Disney or any place else, Richwood Bank, whatever, ask those questions. How do you train your employees? How do you recover, as we talked earlier, from a customer service fail? What are your employees allowed to do? And it doesn't matter if it's a mom and pop. My favorite's going to a hole-in-the-wall diner in some small town.
Be a great experience.
Ask those questions, yes. And it's amazing what you'll learn.
No, that's fantastic. I was amazed at the intentionality of Disney's service. I mean, they even teach people how to point, right? They teach people how to smile. Smile involves teeth. They taught us that. You're not allowed to just grin. Grinning's not good enough. When you smile at Disney, you're supposed to smile with teeth. And when you point, it's the open hand point, right? Because in some cultures, using your index fingers to point is actually a bad thing. It's an insult. And so to do those, that's getting very specific about customer service.
Right. And what was it? If you're within 5 foot of the person, you address them. And if you're within 10 foot of them, you wave to them, you acknowledge them. So, those things. And I thought the neatest one we had was the Mickey hand, right? When we talked about, we were out, just for our listeners here, Chad and I were out cruising the park, and there was a cast member out there had a Mickey hand on, giving high fives to people. We were like, well, that was innovative of him, jump out and do that. And then we get in the class and we find out that is actually a position, the Mickey hand position.
It is.
And they train those people that when you get to that position, you're out there giving high fives to kids walking by.
Yeah, you think it's a spontaneous thing, and they actually have a position that wears the Mickey hand. So, right. No, like I said, that intentionality that they have is amazing, and I would encourage anybody that to learn from them. I know Disney's has its challenges in recent years from social things and everything else that you can put that past you, because when you get to the parks and the service that they're providing, I think any business would be lucky to be as intentional and as process oriented as what they are. They're amazing at it.
Yeah, it is too. And once again, when you get a chance to talk to the individual cast members,
yep.
and you get an idea that they're all individuals. It's not this big conglomerate, and they're out there doing the best job they can, just like your employees. And what do they find good? What do they find bad? Well, that works into it.
That book that I was talking about, Lessons from the Mouse by Dennis Snow, and Dennis is a friend. He's come here to speak a couple of times, and he had 10 lessons in this book, and lesson 1 was never let backstage come on stage, right? Lesson 2 was what time is the 3 o'clock parade? Is not a stupid question. Lesson 3, little wows add up. Lesson 4, have fun with the job no matter how miserable you feel. Lesson 5, don't be a customer service robot. Lesson 6, pay attention to the details. Everything speaks. Lesson 7, never ever say, that's not my job. Don't even think it. Lesson 8, everyone has a customer. Lesson 9, figure out what ticks off your customers and do something about it. And lesson 10 is take responsibility for your own career. And I don't know if you remember that book very well, Rob, but did anything come out of that you use like in Leeds Farm or at OSU, either one?
Pay attention to detail.
There it is.
I live at every time. Because everything you do speaks. Like you just talked about Disney, how you point. We have our employees come in. They are dressed a certain way. They have the Leeds Farm hand on their back. And it's gotten so that they're very possessive of that Leeds Farm hand on the back of their shirt. We talked about, should we develop some T-shirts that we can sell? And they said, you can do that, but do not put the Leeds Farm hand on the back. So those things, those ideas of not only does pay attention to detail affect your customers, it also affects your employees too. Everything speaks that you say and do. And that's why that's leads into the other one. That's why you have to keep backstage. And then once you get on stage, just like any other job, you need to be on. I don't want to hear about what happened last night and you didn't get any sleep, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
How miserable you feel, right? You're gonna do it. Yep. Yeah. So Rob, I have to ask this because your energy is obvious. How did you, as a leader, as starting this business, how did that come about? Were you just naturally inquisitive? Did you actually have that kind of energy, or did you learn that from somebody else? Did you have a mentor that kind of you looked at and said, hey, I want to do it like they do it?
Yeah. First of all, we all have mentors. Whether we realize it or not, we all have mentors and we go into it. But no, I was lucky enough. Most important decision you ever make in your life, Chad, is you're going to spend your life with, your husband, your wife, whatever. So once again, I was lucky enough to have a wife with a lot of energy and a lot of opinions. So we had a lot of discussion. So, but it's been good. And then once again, as we went through, I sought out, and that's why, I'm glad that me and you are friends. Yeah. I want to go out and talk to the people who are better than I am at everything. I want to be the dumbest person in the room because that way I will get better. I don't have to be that person. And so, through college, I had a great mentor with Ag Econ, but it was very, traditional stuff. But once again, I learned lessons from that. And then we move out. I sought out people who were good at agritourism already. I joined a national group. I got on the board. I became president once again. Amazing. But once again, all the way up, you're making relationships, and you're talking to people who I work with. Farms in California and Nebraska and the East Coast. But once again, you're learning from everybody as you go through. So never pass up that opportunity to talk to and ask questions of people.
You just defined basically our seek knowledge, right? Our last value, and just to always be looking for ways to get better. I mean, when you started becoming a successful company, you didn't stop there. Right, you kept looking for ways to improve and other people to get to know and how they were doing it. I was surprised how many people you knew when we went to the Disney Institute. It was funny how many individuals in our group were agritainment individuals, and I know you'd kind of brought them from that organization that you had worked with, but they were all just sharing, and nobody was like holding back. Everybody was saying what they're doing. They're sharing their information, and we've had banks that we work with that we sometimes compete with, but for the most part, we're just asking questions of each other. Hey, how do you do this? How did you improve this? A lot of times it's operational, but sometimes it's experience as well. And I love to deal both at the state level as well as nationally and find out what other individuals are doing to get better. And I think as a leader, you can do it through books, you can do it through podcasts, but there's nothing quite like having that individual across the table that you're talking to.
Exactly. That's why I really enjoy this face-to-face. We did trips to England and France here in the last 2-3 years, but once again, we visited farms over there, people I knew, but I hadn't really seen their operations in a while, and went over there, and if anybody gets over, visit Tolly's over in England. Very different, but very much some ideas we can use. And then close to home, I got a gentleman that I have breakfast with at least once, twice a month, pick his brain. Usually we got 1 or 2 items on the agenda, and then after that, it's just freewheeling. Yep. So, but there's people next door that you can learn as much from and really bring in new ideas. Never discount those relationships.
I have to go to that other place because, again, very successful with obviously Leeds Farm. How do you take these things that you've learned there into a juggernaut like OSU?
Yeah, it's a little bit tougher there, but once again, you develop relationship, you make suggestions, you realize that it's a big ship, and it's hard to turn. But once again, this idea that O plus E equals R. Yep. So the idea is that all your ideas are not going to be taken, but don't be afraid to go out there and throw them out anyway. And as you know, a lot of them have been taken, and we've involved you in there. Developing some keys and looking at some different trainings that we do. So it may take a little bit longer. Don't get frustrated. Realize that everybody has good intentions and is trying to do a good job. Right. So just don't discount that.
Yeah, I want to thank you because obviously you're a big part of it. I mean, I get to speak to the group, the extension office there in December, and I'm very excited about that because I know they've had some challenges, right? I mean, as different things come down, funding gets different, and you just every business takes its ups and its downs, right? It has its peaks and valleys, and it's how you handle those that depends on how you're moving forward. And I look forward to working with the group there, speaking there. But I want to thank you for that opportunity. But anything else, Rob, that you would want to share today? And again, I know Christy and Isaac are both working with you. Obviously, your son and your wife. I've known Christy. She was my 4-H advisor back when I was in 4-H from the extension office there. So she's been doing it a little while. But no, it's just what you've done in the community is so impressive. And I just wondered if there was anything else that you'd want to add before we signed off today.
Well, I think the big thing, Chad, is this idea of working with the community. Part of our Extension goal and our Leeds Farm goal is to better the community or make the community better because we're a part of it. Yep. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that the community benefits, and that community can be as small as Ostrander or it can be as large as the state of Ohio.
Right.
So we're going to make it happen, and like you said too, the small things make a big difference.
Oh yeah.
And once again, you may work with someone that is in a different state or whatever. You don't realize the impact that they have on them.
Yeah.
And so be very careful about how you talk to people, how you interact with them, especially if you've got a young person coming up that you're kind of mentoring, because you never know how they're going to take it. It was interesting. We just started a legacy wall at Leeds Farm. So it's everybody, employees that have been with the company for a long time, and then a handprint. So we brought back some of our older ones, I said more experienced ones, but they started with in 94. So they're like, got families of their own now. And one young lady's a professor at a college out in Missouri. Another owns a business, a line of businesses. And we were talking about things that we had talked about back in 94. And me, I don't remember them at all. But they were saying, well, I remember you said this, or I said. So be very intentional about what you say, because 30 years from now they may say, well, "I took your advice," and you're like, "Oh my God, did it work?"
Yeah, I don't think we understand as leaders how our words can really build up or they can really tear down, depending on which way you handle that. And be the person that builds people up, right? I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And like you said, I like to believe that everybody has the intention of doing the best job they can. I don't think that anybody comes to work and says, "Hey, I can't wait to see how I can screw things up today," right? So it may feel like that sometimes, but nobody starts that way. Well, Rob, I just again want to thank you for sharing your thoughts today, and I know this is a passion that you have as well, and I'm just pleased to have you on as a guest. So thank you, sir, for joining.
Thanks very much, Chad. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to hear you in December. Here's some more words of wisdom.
There it is. Well, guys, again, thanks for joining us on Bank Shot, where we bounce ideas off area leaders to inspire vision and values. If today's conversation gave you something to bank on, share it with a friend, a colleague, or your team. Together, we can keep investing in leadership that builds stronger businesses and thriving communities. Until next time, keep taking your best shot.